Welcome to Maximizer CRM 102. In today's training, we're going to look at user-defined fields and how we use them to segment our database, how we then use the results of that segmentation to create a quick access icon bar and to create dashboards. We'll look at creating leads and turning them into opportunities. We'll take a look at how we use the opportunities module and how we use the customer service module. We'll then take a look at how you can access Maximizer from anywhere in the world at any time. And then finally, of course, we'll take a look at the resources that are available to you to help you better use your Maximizer. To begin, I log into my Maximizer, and today I'll begin with a list of 8 contacts that I have pulled from my database. Let's suppose that when you walked in this morning, your manager said, "I need you to make sure that we accurately describe our customers. This can include recording the products they like to buy from us, when they do their buying, what industry they are in, and so on." And you were told that you could use something called user-defined fields to do this. Well, user-defined fields are nothing more than custom fields that are defined by you, the user. When we click on our user-defined field tab following window, we can see all of the folders and fields that we have in our address book. I have told Maximizer by putting a check mark here to show me even the user-defined fields where I have not applied a value to the entry that I'm highlighting up here. I've also asked Maximizer to show me any hidden fields I might have. And you'll notice if I can't remember where to find a field, as long as I can remember at least a part of its name, I can put that into here and have Maximizer search for that field for me. If I uncheck these points, you will see that all I have highlighted here are the fields where there is some kind of a value associated with the entry I'm highlighting up here. For example, if I click on Custom UDFs, you see that I do have values for at least 4 of the user-defined fields that are in this particular folder. To create and modify user-defined fields, I click on Administration and Set up user-defined fields. A folder is just a convenient way of grouping a selection of user-defined fields, and I create a folder by simply clicking up here and giving that folder a name as well as a location where I want it to belong. If at some point in time I don't like where I put that folder, I can simply click to the right of it like this to highlight it, and I can tell Maximizer I would like to move it to some other spot. For example, I could take Custom UDFs, click on Move To, and redefine a different folder where I might want to have this folder nested. If I don't want my new user-defined fields to be put inside of a folder, I can simply highlight the main root folder, Maximizer CRM software here, and I can come up and click on the Field button and select from any one of the 7 different types of fields that are available. You can tell the nature of these fields pretty much by the name associated with them. Alphanumeric, numbers and letters, date, duration, the time between 2 dates, formula, relating fields to each other. Numeric, just straight numbers. Always remember with the numeric field, when you set it up is when you specify the number of decimal places associated with it. A table field is, well, think of it as a pick list where you have a number of items that you can select from. And a yes/no field is simply that. Has this happened? Yes or no? Will that happen? Yes or no? If you want to change the name of a field or a folder, you click on that particular folder, and that gives you a chance to change the name here. If you want to take a look at the items within a table field, click to the right of that field to highlight it, and then come up here and click on Items. This is where you can see the items associated with this particular table field. And you can also, of course, click here to add an item, give it a name, and click Save, or you can select an item and delete it. Remember that you can also create folders and fields for opportunities, for campaigns, and for customer service cases, not just for the address book as we have been discussing here. And when you want to know exactly how to create all these fields and folders, click on this link, which will take you to a video that will help you understand that. Once you have your user-defined fields set up, you can come to Details for any given entry, and you have access to these key field lists, which I mentioned in Maximizer CRM 101. To modify or add to or create new key field lists, all you have to do is click on this little gear icon and select Customize Key Fields. By default, Maximizer will open up the key field list that you are currently looking at. If you want to add another field to that list, you simply click on Add Field and select from either the basic fields that are available or any of the user-defined fields that are also available. When you've picked a particular field and selected it, Maximizer shows it as selected. When you click Insert, Maximizer puts it into that key field list, and you can add more fields if you want, or click Close if that's the only one that you wanted to add in. Once you have that field there, you can move it around into different places. You can also put a separator underneath it, like that, and move that around to wherever you want to. You can also add a group title, and again, grab it and move it any place that you want. When you are done, click Save, and then click Close, and your changes show up in this key field list. If you want to add a new key field list, click Save or Cancel, which takes you over into your list of key field lists, and you can either select another one to make changes to it, or you can click Add to create a brand new one. One thing to be aware of is that when you click the key fields and come over to actually add the fields and separators and group titles, you have to select the kind of entry that this key field list will apply to. When you're done and you've clicked Save and you've dropped out of the key field list area, note that the video for this particular activity is located right here. The main reason for having user-defined fields and key field lists is so that we can actually segment our database. And I'm going to show you how to do an advanced search to do that very thing right now. And then we'll take a look at a specific kind of list called favorite lists. Remember, of course, that you can search under the Search tab for anything in your database, but what we're going to focus on now is what we call an advanced search. To perform an advanced search, I click on the Add button, select from my basic fields and/or my user-defined fields. When I have a field that I want to use, I simply put a check mark in the box here. It shows up as a selected field, and when I click OK, Maximizer will present me with this kind of a box where in the case of the one for city, it asks me for what city or what range of cities I might want. So I might type Toronto, for example. When I click Add, it shows up over here under Values to be Searched For, and then I can click OK, and then it shows up here in my main search window. At this point in time, I can go ahead and click OK to perform the search. Let me tell you what happens if I do it right now. You'll notice under here, I have to decide to match all the criteria or parameters up here or just one or more. Well, there's only one, so that's a good radio button to pick. I decide whether to apply this to companies, individuals, contacts, either all of them or just any particular one of them. And then I decide whether I want to replace what I'm looking at here with the results of the search, or if I have a large list of entries I'm working with, I may simply want to narrow that list down. Or if I like what I've got here, I might want to choose this radio button, which adds the results of this search to that list. And then finally, I decide which entries I will apply this search to. All of my entries, or the starred, or what I consider my important entries, or the ones that are not starred, or only those starred ones, etc. Generally speaking, I'm applying them to all entries, and then I go ahead and click OK. After I've performed that search, if I like the results of it, I can always go back to Search, Advanced Search, bring up the last search, and then catalog it so that I can find it and use it again. I click Add, give it a name, decide if I want to keep access to myself or if I want to at least share the read access with public, decide if there's a column setup that I want to associate with it, and then I do something else that I think is very important and really is a powerful tool. I click here to tell Maximizer to prompt me for values when the search is retrieved. What this means is that I create the search once and test it once, and then I can use it forever because I don't have to rethink the logic of a search. I simply have to change what I'm searching for. I click OK, and the search is now logged into my search catalog. I'm going to drop out of here. I'm going to go to View and clear the list. And then I'm going to go back into Search, Advanced Search. I'm going to go to the Catalog, and I'm going to pull up a search that has several parameters in it so that I can show you what that looks like. Here's one I've created, and I'll highlight it, and retrieve it. And you notice what I've done here is I've said there are 3 parameters. First one, I want to have every entry that's involved in manufacturing that has 1 to 1,000 employees and is located in the city of Toronto. And down here, of course, match 1 or more makes no sense at all in this case, so I do choose this radio button, must match all. After I've gone through the rest of my thinking here, I click OK, and Maximizer brings back the 1 entry that applies in my database. Now let me show you the real power of this. I click on Search, Advanced Search. I go to my catalog. There's the search I performed, but this time I go to Properties, and I've put a check mark here, Prompt for Values when the search is retrieved. Now if I go to Search and search Catalog directly, select the one that I want to perform, and click Retrieve, Maximizer loads it up, but stops and says, do you want to change any of the parameters? Instead of manufacturing, would you like to add something else, perhaps IT services in addition to manufacturing? Do you still want to do this for Toronto? Would you rather do it for Chicago or New York or San Diego or some other place? Do you want to change the number of employees that you want to take a look at? Before I click Search, one other thing to notice, when I put in multiple parameters here, I generally choose Match 1 or more. The 1 entry that's in my database, if I had gone ahead and said Match All and clicked Search, is not involved in IT services, I would have gotten no results. But perhaps I have other entries in my database that are in IT services and in Toronto with employees. So in addition to the 1 entry for manufacturing, I get the others there if I say Match 1 or more. You'll want to go to Advanced Search and check out the video that shows you how to do this in detail. I'm going to undo my last search and come back to the list of contacts that I started with today. Suppose these are people that you met at a conference. You collected their information, put them into Maximizer, and your manager said, thanks very much for doing that. Now see how many you can convert from prospect to customer. In that situation, it would make sense to put these people into the database and then come over here to View and come down to Favorite Lists and add a favorite list. We'll just call this May Conference Attendees. I'll keep full access to myself, but I'll put Read Access to Public, and then I'll select an appropriate column setup, and I'll click OK. My favorite list has now become part of my favorite list library. And let's suppose that after a period of time, the first 4 entries in this list decide it's not really for them, and so therefore I want to remove them from that favorite list so I can focus on the remaining entries. I select them, I right-click, Remove from Favorite List, select the favorite list that they're part of, click on it, and click OK. The next time I go to the favorite list, I notice that there are only 4 remaining attendees, which is exactly what I would expect up here. I can retrieve that list and continue to work with those 4 entries. It's worth noting that the main difference between a favorite list and a list created by an advanced search is this. An advanced search is what we call dynamic. That is to say, if you add 1,000 new entries into the database this afternoon, any of those entries that meet the parameters of that advanced search will show up in the results of that search. By contrast, any of those entries that should show up in the favorite list will not do so until such time as you manually put them there, just as you saw me manually remove them from a list about a moment ago. Now that we have a favorite list and we also have an advanced search list, let me show you a couple of really neat things that we can do with them. I'll go back to my favorite list, and this time I'll click on this bar here that says Add to the icon bar for quick access. What the program is referring to is this quick access area up here. Now, if your Maximizer has just been delivered to you, it may not even have this quick access area. But once you make a selection, for example, of a favorite list and click on this icon bar and apply an icon to it, you'll end up generating that quick access area as well as attaching that particular favorite list to it. So let's click this one here and click Save. The moment I do, Maximizer enters it up here. So when I drop out of here, and then I go and click on this or hover on it, I can see what it says. It says May Conference Attendees. When I click on it, I get these 4 entries that I'm working with. Now I'll go back to Search, Advanced Search, the catalog, and I'll pick that save search that we played with earlier. And down here, once again, I'll click on Add to the icon bar for quick access. This time I'll pick this icon, and after I click Save, Maximizer puts that icon up here in the quick access area. And when I click on that icon, just as before, Maximizer brings up here the opportunity for me to change any of the parameters that I'm using for that search. Once you have advanced save searches, you have the opportunity to create dashboards. The high-level notes for dashboards are pretty simple. First of all, you saw in the address book I was able to go to Search and Advanced Search. You can do the same thing in Opportunities, Search, Advanced Search. You can do the same thing in Customer Service, and you can do the same thing in Campaigns. The dashboard example that we're looking at here has a dashboard indicator from the address book, another one here from Customer Service, another one from the address book, this one down here from the Opportunities, and again another one from the address book over here. You can see that you can have pie charts, bar charts, and a number of variations on these themes. To create a dashboard, you click on the dashboard wizard and decide to create a new one, edit an existing one, create a new indicator, or edit an existing indicator. And all of these separate little charts are called indicators. Think of a dashboard as being an umbrella that embraces one or more indicators. If I choose to edit an existing indicator, for example, I have to select the indicator itself. I'll just take this one as a for instance. And then I decide how I want it to look as a pie chart, for example, or a bar chart. And then the key thing is I have to decide on the save search that will support it. Now in this case, I'm going to be checking records from the address book, and I have a save search that's called Toronto Clients by Segmentation. Out of all the save searches I've got, that's the one that I want to use for this particular indicator. And this process is the same if I was creating a new indicator, or as you're seeing here, potentially modifying an existing indicator. Now, to learn how to do this properly in more detail, you will want to watch the video up here. And if my manager has asked for information that I can represent with a dashboard, all I have to do is click on the email button here, add his or her email address into here, and send the dashboard and indicators, which now gives a very nice, concise, and very visual report on what I have been asked to provide. The modules over on the left here haven't changed very much over the years, which is why we were pretty excited when we were able to add a new module called Leads. In this section, I'm going to show you how to add entries into leads and then how to convert those leads into opportunities. I begin by clicking on the Leads module, and I am presented with a very neat and very blank page. To add a lead manually, I simply go up here and click on the plus button. I begin by entering all the information that I have on this person and company. Then I look over here and notice that the beginning status for a new lead is, of course, unqualified. This could simply be somebody who talked to me at a conference. I thought they might be interested in our products, but I won't know that until I proceed to have them as a new inquiry, working, nurturing. I'll move them along to get them ready to turn them into a proper opportunity. The owner for this lead can be specified here as one of the Maximizer users in my company, or I can leave that blank and edit that later. When I'm satisfied with this, I come down to the bottom and click Save. And now I have a new lead that's in my list of leads here in my Leads module. I go back to her record and decide that she's progressing well enough I can consider this to be a working lead. I click on Working and click on Set Status. I also add a note for her. I enter the note, which you'll recognize is date and time stamped exactly like the notes we do everywhere else in Maximizer, and I click OK to save that note. Similarly to other areas in Maximizer, I can add tasks and appointments for this particular entry. I can also add documents to this lead the same as I could elsewhere. At this point, I think this is solid enough that I go up and click on Edit and add myself as the owner of this lead, and once again click Save down here at the bottom. Now you'll see that all this information shows up here, and if I click Less, I get to see just the high-level stuff. What I like to do next is click on the link button to see if perchance this entry already exists in Maximizer somewhere. So I type in Francine and tell Maximizer to search for me. It does find an entry, a contact, which is what Francine is to this company, but I notice the person is named Francine Happy, so it's not the same person. So the next thing I like to do, when this lead has progressed to the point of nurturing and I set that as the new status for it, I like to come up here and click Convert, because now this lead is solid enough that I want to turn this lead into a bona fide opportunity and pursue it that way. You'll notice that Maximizer has correctly interpreted that convert indication to create a new company and a new contact, European Imports, with me now as the account manager, not just the owner of the lead, and with Francine as being the new contact in that company. I click down here to create the objective for the opportunity. I type in the objective here, and then I also type in notes so that anybody else will have an understanding of what I'm trying to do with this opportunity. When I'm ready, I click Convert. And by the way, if I wanted to simply add this person and company into the address book, but without creating an opportunity right now, I could put a check mark right here. But this seems rock solid, so I'm going to go ahead and convert it. The real beauty of the record at this point is that I could click under here, European Imports, or under here, Contact Francine Mitchell, go directly into the address book and look at the entries there, or I can click here on the opportunity, and that will move me directly over into the Opportunities module and highlight this brand new opportunity. Over the next couple of minutes, we'll take a look at some of the characteristics of a typical opportunity. Down here under Details, I can see the title of the opportunity and the description as I wrote it, and I click on Edit to continue. The company and the contact associated with the opportunity are already filled in. I could add in products and service and categories if I wanted to. I have to select a process, and what I'll choose for this example is selling process. And I'll go to the needs assessment stage because I've already had this kind of a conversation with Francine, and I think she's at that particular point. I'll put my confidence rating as confident because I wouldn't have moved her out of leads into opportunities if I didn't think there was a fair chance of moving this along to conclusion. The status is in progress as opposed to any of the other titles which you can see here, and the words mean pretty much exactly what they say. On the right-hand side here, I'm part of the West Coast sales team, which is why I'm the leader of that team for this opportunity. I've already indicated the start date will be today's date, June 2019, and just for sake of argument, I'll say let's anticipate that we'll close on June the 20th. The opportunity is 0 days old, of course, because we've only just started. I've indicated the probable revenue at $15,000. There's no campaign associated with it, and my next action is going to be to review the prospect's needs. When I click Save, this progress bar shows up here on the top of my opportunity. And you can think of this as being the milestones that have to be met in order to get to a successful conclusion. As this opportunity progresses, periodically I'll go back to Edit and change the stage that it's at so I continue to have an updated visual representation of where I am with this opportunity. There are two other things I'd like to mention in relation to opportunities. The first is that I can go to my Activities tab window, I can add appointments and tasks, or I can schedule what is called an action plan. Let me show you what I mean by that. Remember back in Details, we have this indication of the stages that we have to go through, but any given stage or milestone does not necessarily indicate everything that has to be done in order to achieve and complete that stage or milestone. And that's where an action plan can be of assistance. We come over to Administration and Action Plan Library. If we don't see an existing action plan that we can use, we simply click on Add and create a new one. The key thing to remember about action plans is that they're nothing more really than a collection of tasks, maybe with a couple of appointments thrown in, that are designed to get you from point A to point B as you try to accomplish a particular task. In this one here, for example, you'll notice that I have already identified a number of tasks that are a part of this action plan, and they're indicated as occurring so many days after the particular plan starts. This video down here will give you the step-by-step instructions on how to actually create and execute on an action plan. The second thing I want to show you is that we can generate what's called a pipeline report. To do this, we have to select a process, which in this case I will select as the selling process. We can group the report by leader, account manager, or team. I'll leave it on leader, and I'll click Update the report. The report is generated for all entries in the list and shows us how much is coming into our sales funnel, progressing through it, and finally coming out at the end. This gives you a nice, neat visual representation of where your business is at and can help you understand where you may have to put some additional emphasis to meet your particular financial goals. I can scroll down and look at the different elements of this particular funnel. For example, the opportunity with ABC Shipping has a forecasted revenue of $4,000, but the weighted revenue right now is only $2,000, which is the result of multiplying the forecasted revenue by the probability of close according to the stage that opportunity currently is at. And if you need to, this pipeline report can be exported to Excel, PDF, or Word. One final note, up here in the upper right, you'll see a video that goes through all of the moving parts related to opportunities. From time to time, your customers will have problems, and the customer service module with its attendant customer service cases provides a way for you to track those problems and how you resolve them. Let me give you a couple of examples. I could begin in the customer service module itself and click Edit and create a case. But what I prefer to do is go to the address book, find and select the entry that has the problems, and go over to their Customer Service tab following window. From here, I can click on this plus button to add a customer service case. And as you can see, I'm back in the dialog box for the customer service case, and I simply have to fill in the fields that are in red, they're mandatory, and any of the others for which I have information. I complete the mandatory information for the subject, the description, and the products and services. And by the way, this is actually an editable list, so I can edit and add in the problems that I typically get, which makes it faster for me to handle future ones. I fill in the other basic details over here, assign myself as a case owner, and assign the resolution responsibility for the case to myself as well. The priority in this case is high, even though the severity, I will say, is relatively medium. When I've done all of this, I finally click Save. And this customer service case is now logged into the customer service module, where, as you can see, I have customer service cases related to all of my clients who have had any kind of problems. I can click here to spring back over to the address book, which takes me right back to Ajax Chemicals, and under customer service, you can see the case that I have just created. Let me go back over to the customer service module again and sort by subject, and this time highlight Summers Manufacturing and ask to see that back in the address book, because I remember that Summers Manufacturing had some issues like this as well. And by asking to see it in the address book, Maximizer added Summers Manufacturing to the list of entries I was currently looking at. I click on Summers, click on the customer service case, and sure enough, I see 3 examples there with that one company where they had something damaged in shipment. I think you can see that if these 3 instances had happened within a relatively short period of time, they would be a red flag to me that something was going on that needed to be addressed, either in the way I ship things out, or the way they were transported, or in the way they were received at the customer's end. In any event, I would make sure I resolved this issue so that I could stop spending time and probably money and other resources simply addressing a customer complaint. You can, of course, also go in the other direction. So let's click on this case for Summers Manufacturing, which takes me back over into the customer service module. I click on Edit, and I see I have a different kind of customer situation here where actually it's been a problem on my side. What I may want to do is come to my activities window for this particular customer service case, and I may actually want to schedule an action plan that has been designed to help me take better care of my customers with periodic check-ins to make sure things are actually going well with them. This is just another example of how Maximizer and the modules within Maximizer can be purposed in a way that addresses your business processes. Let's wrap up the session with a look at the tools that support the road warrior in all of us. The first is the mobile access utility that we have had in Maximizer for quite some time. The second is the new native mobile app that is lighter and faster and designed to supply basic information to the person living out where the rubber meets the road. Both can be used on your tablet or smartphone. Let's look first at mobile access. We'll go over to Administration and click on Desktop and Mobile Setup. I click here to email this URL to my smartphone or tablet. This is what the login screen looks like on my tablet. I enter my user ID and password, and I click Login. That brings me to my home screen, where I have access to all of the modules I'm used to working with in Maximizer, plus I have all of my quick access shortcuts available to me as well. So for example, I can click on Opportunities, do whatever I need to here, bounce back to my home screen, or get back to any other module that I want to work with by using the shortcuts down at the bottom of the screen here. One very useful feature is this Help button. When I click on it, I can then click on any plus button here and get help and information on anything that might be of specific interest to me. When I'm done, I click out of this module, and I'm back to my main screen. When I click on the address book, those 4 remaining entries from the May conference attendees favorite list are showing to me because I went over here to the right, clicked on this, and clicked on Startup option, and told Maximizer that when I open my address book, I want to see a favorite list, and specifically the one from the May conference attendees. After I made that selection, I click Done. If I now click on one of these entries, for example, this one here, Carson & Carson Law Firm, Brad Carson is brought up in this dialog box. I can check on phone numbers, email addresses, date last contacted. If I need to update a value here, for example, on the industry, I can do that. I'll put them into knitting, I'll click Save, and that field has been actively updated while I've been in mobile access. And that update is available to anybody else back in the office who's looking at Maximizer on their desktop. If I got a hold of Brad, I may want to come down here and click on Notes and click up here to add a note and record the fact that I spent some time with Brad. I can mark this note as important. I can come up to the right and click Save, and that note is now part of the notes record for Brad in my Maximizer database. I click Close, and I can go back to my home screen, and when I'm finished doing anything I need to in mobile access, I can come up here and log out. Now let me show you the mobile app. The mobile app is a lighter, faster native app that works on your smartphone or tablet. To get it started, go to the Play Store and click Enter Maximizer, and then click on the Maximizer icon and install. Accept, and away we go. Once the installation concludes, click on Open. And look at that, welcome. And I click Next, and Next, and Next, and Finish. And here I have to choose, I have a CRM Live account or my Maximizer is self-hosted on-premise. For the purposes of my demonstration, I'll click I have a CRM Live account. I'm asked for my email address, and it asks me for the password that I use. And then I sign in. What Maximizer does to verify I am who I say I am, it sends a 4-digit PIN to my email address. I click Got it, and I get to enter my code and press Verify. And there we go, I'm in. You'll notice down on the bottom of my screen, I have access to leads, to my address book, to my opportunities, and over here I click, I see the list of everything that I can access. So I can click on my address book and bring up a list of the entries that I have in my database. If I want to connect with Bill Anderson, who's the shipper receiver for Ultimate Experience, I click on his name, that brings up his details. And if what I want to do is call him, I click on the phone number, and this little dialog box comes up that lets me call with a phone or send a text message and close when I'm done. As you work with this mobile app, I think in time you'll end up having this become your next best friend. When I did the installation, I automatically ended up with a shortcut, and just for fun, I replaced my Play Store icon with my Maximizer icon. So that on my opening screen, I've got immediate access to it. I click on Maximizer, opens right back up where it first opened after I installed it. If I click the button up here in the upper right, I can choose to look at my hot list, day view, week view, month view, click that to go back to where I was. And as you saw before, I can click to my address book and I'm right back where I want to be. Remember to keep your eye on this app because more development is happening as we speak and changes will be rolled out automatically as they occur. Good hunting. When we began, I promised I would show you the support resources that are available to help you in your Maximizer journey. You've already seen that in many places in the program, we have these little help videos that are specific to a particular area that you're looking at. But you can also come up here to our Help Center, click on General Help, and then click on Video Tutorials. Now you can click to continue to our YouTube channel, where you can see all of our video tutorials presented in the same sequence as they occur during our Maximizer CRM 101, 102, and 103 classes. Plus up here you can search by title or subject matter. For the next resource, simply go to our website, www.maximizer.com, and then enter /contact-support to come to this page where you can give us your name, email, and phone number if you care to, tell us where you're located, submit this with your message, and we'll get back to you right away. You'll notice that we've got our phone numbers here for calling in North America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and this little puppy down here on the lower right, if you click on it, you can enter into a chat with one of our specialists in customer service. We are committed to and passionate about your success with Maximizer. Bye for now.